Alright guys, time for part 2 of this tutorial. Let's get to it. Now, before we get into actually designing a skin, I just want to show you two things. First is, to move around you have to use WASD, like in game obviously, but you have to hold down mouse button. And to zoom in, you hold down both mouse buttons and drag forward and back. And that's useful because if you get too close to someone at normal, they can get blurry, like so. So you come back a bit and zoom in, and we get that nice HD skin resolution. Alright, into the actual video. Okay, what we're going to do today is I'm going to show you how to actually create probably one of the simplest, most basic skins you'll see in Rust, and that's a t-shirt skin. We're not going to do much fancy. We're just going to make a skin with, I don't know, an image on it. Change up the colours a bit. Keep all the pre-made different looks and stuff. And so what we'll want to do is we'll want to open a folder where it leads to when you click this. So mine's over here. I will create a new folder called Tutorial T-shirt. We'll go out of here, we'll scroll down to where I just made one, open it up, and click save. Call this diffuse because that's what we're saving, and that will download the diffuse where we can edit it in Photoshop. We could mess with the normal, but we're not going to need to for this skin. Same goes for occlusion and emission. We don't actually need to edit the emission, occlusion, or normal for this skin, but we will get into that stuff in a later tutorial. So for now, we don't need Rust up at the moment, and if you've got a lower performing computer, Photoshop loves to steal resources, so we're going to close down Rust now, and I'll see you over in Photoshop. Alrighty, we're in Photoshop now. Now I've already gone ahead and created a separate layer, and I'll show you what to do with that. If you want to create one now, just Control-Shift-N, press Enter, or press OK, and that'll create a new layer. So there's two ways we're going to color the shirt first, so there's two ways we can do that. We can either colorize this layer, or we can create an overlay layer. So I'll show you both now. We can go to Image while having our base layer selected, Adjustments, and Hue/Saturation. Now doing this won't do anything because it's grey. So we'll want to put that back to 0, and we'll want to tick the Colorize option. Now you'll notice our shirt's now becoming colourful, and we can select pretty much any colour like so, change the saturation, make it really faded, you know, make it darker, etc, etc, etc. And yeah, so that's one way you can colorize stuff. So I'll just set this to pale greeny colour. And that's essentially green shirt. The other way we can make a colour is by coming over here, selecting a green, filling in our top layer, and changing this to something like overlay. Alternatively, you can darken it. All these should give different effects. Some of them you'll like, some of them you won't. So soft light works, but hard light's a bit harsh on the eyes. Vivid light, very harsh on the eyes. And you wouldn't want to use that in game unless you're making a glowing shirt. Don't steal my ideas. Pin light, once again, a different effect. This will give you greener in and keep the rest grey. And hard mix just blows it all out. So personally, this is my favourite way to make a shirt. And because difference looks odd, but it's not too bad, I think I'm going to invert this and stick with it. So there's our greeny colour. Not too bad. It's nice deep green, so I'm going to lower the opacity a little. And that should give us a more faded look, which is something they're looking for in the game. New fancy shiny stuff they have specifically stated doesn't really fit in the game, because obviously it's Rust, it's post-apocalyptic. So what we're going to do now is we're going to create another new layer by Control-Shift-N, OK or Enter, And now what we can do is we can put an image on the shirt. And so I'll go and whip up a quick image, and then I'll get back to you when it's done. Alright, so I've created my image, just a little whirlpool that I'm going to throw onto it, and I'm going to highlight it all. Alternatively, we can just duplicate the layer, go back to our diffuse.png, OK, and here it is. Now I'll have to resize this because it's a little larger, so I'll put it down to about 30% of its original. Apply that. Here's our... I can make this even smaller because we're going to put it on the front about there. We can rotate it slightly just for fun. And just make sure it's nice and it looks, at least looks somewhat centered. Alright, now that obviously overwrites all of these. So there's two things we can do here. We can either make it its own overlay or light. Overlay looks alright, but for this it doesn't seem to be working that great. Really it's just the idea of mixing around till you find something that fits well. Alright, looks like I'm going to have to once again go up here, adjustments, and let's colorize this to be a more sort of purpley, deep purple like this. And set that to, nah, it's a bit much, isn't it? Overlay, soft light looks good. Now, two things we can do to make this look more rusty is we can blur it a little, which may or may not help. Let's duplicate this first and then blur the background one, and then set this to 50 and this to 50. And then even better, let's make this glowing. How does that sound? So we will take a look at emissions, it seems. We'll duplicate this layer. We'll go to a new document and we'll click OK. And what we'll want to do here is basically just go to our hue and saturation, saturation 0, lightness, bring it down to a deep greyish, or about there, you know, it doesn't matter too much, and press OK. Now what we'll want to do is we'll want to get black and fill in a layer below it, and then edit this one, so adjustments, and we can use brightness and contrast for this. what's going to help us out here? See, the problem is black is an awfully overpowering look, isn't it? Let's bump this up. Now, I think the problem we're doing is, of course, it's soft light. So we'll clean this up a bit, because while it doesn't matter as much on the original, cleaning up this outline is essential because this is where the light's going to be coming from. And we don't want random light just popping up everywhere. So let's bump this up a bit. Better contiguous. Alright. We'll just Control-C, Control-V that. Get rid of that, make sure we don't have any other lines. And now we don't want it this bright, so let's bring it down to about there and save this as emission. Now, I will suggest saving your stuff in both PSD and PNG format, as PNG will not save your layers, and so if you want it edited again some other time, you won't be able to. So we're going to take all this, put it in a group with Control-Z, holding Control to highlight each one. Let's duplicate this and press Control-E. And now we've got one single layer, which is the thing. Now, the reason I did this isn't for saving it, but so we can actually come in here and change what it looks like. So I reckon, I don't know, what colour's good? Let's pick a sort of salmon orangey type thing. Increase the lightness, increase the saturation ever so slightly, and press OK. So we're going to save that. I'm going to call it diffuse. Then we'll save it again as a PNG and call it diffuse. Now, yes, we want to replace. You don't have to, but seeing as I'm done editing this, I will. Now that that's done, we can close this unless you want to save it. I don't. And we can close that and close this and go back into Rust. Alright, we'll need to once again recreate a new item, as it doesn't save unless you publish it. And now we are here. We can go to Edit and we can click on the diffuse, select our new diffuse and put it on there. Now this doesn't look great, but it's a Rust kind of shirt. We can always change the colours here a bit as well, but what I'm more interested in is emission. So we can select our emission here, and now that doesn't do anything at the moment, but if we bump up stuff, the emission will only come out of the bits we've just highlighted. So if we were to give this, I don't know, what sort of colour should we go for? I kind of fancy blue, to be honest. Now we don't want an alpha cutoff, that's another thing I'll show you another day. We don't want to go all Sir Winter on this though, so maybe a slightly deeper blue. Keep the normal where it is, maybe even wax it off a little. Nah, just leave it. Specular gloss, we really don't need any gloss on this. Alright, I mean if you really want to make it kind of glossy, I guess we could make it glossy to go in with the emission, but I don't really want to. Because even the tiniest bit of gloss kind of makes it just look weird, doesn't it? I reckon it could work with about there. And then make it just slightly glossy. Make it kind of blue, because we'll mess with our emission colour. And make our emission a nice sort of light blue. Let's turn it to night and see how this looks. That's definitely something to behold at night time. Yeah. So there's our first skin created, using emissions this time. I really don't think we need glossiness, so we'll leave that off. But yeah, at night time it looks pretty good, and it's kind of like staring into a vortex, which is always nice, and it will definitely freak the hell out of anyone who looks at you at night time. Just remember to shoot them with a bolty first. So yeah, that's creating our first skin, and I'll see you next time for how to publish it and creating photos and etc. And showing off your skin.